In choosing the game location, what we really wanted to do was to pick a location that could represent all the facets of Batman.
Some of the books, some of the comics, they actually put Arkham Asylum on an island, and we thought that would be absolutely fantastic for our game as a whole.
You can see Gotham in the horizon, I mean the city skyline, but the entire part of the game is based in the Arkham Asylum.
And Arkham Asylum as well is such a critical location in the history of the Batman universe. It's such a kind of central heartbeat where everything passes through.
When you come out of maximum security, and it's the first time you see the overworld, and Arkham Asylum is just there in front of you, this huge, beautiful building. It's really epic.
We wanted different places which represented all of the different parts of Arkham.
The Batcave was one of the more important environments for us to get right as environment artists, and it's also one of the more important environments for Batman himself. That's where all his weapons are. That's where he does his forensic, his comms, things like that.
They created like a medical wing, so you go there, it's looking completely different. So you're going from like Gothic to more kind of like Victorian.
And then areas like the gardens, which kind of represent more the hope of Arkham. So you have this lovely balance throughout the environment.
One of the things we really wanted to do with this story is, as long as we've got Arkham Asylum as our theater, so to speak, we were going to cast it with his greatest villain, kind of like an ultimate Batman fighting scenario. So you're going to put him in a box, even if it's a relatively huge box, and fill it with threats he just can't escape from, his worst enemies of all time, the most violent, most unhinged, most nasty criminals he can fight.
There's at least 30 or 40 characters that we've built for the game so far.
When we started, we looked at who were the coolest villains that we really wanted to be in the game. Being at Arkham Asylum made it quite easy to put all of them in if we wanted. And then we looked at what would make the best gameplay, what would please the fans, started there and then just went for it.
We really wanted to choose villains who would push Batman in completely different directions. So we wanted villains who would really challenge the kind of psychological abilities of Batman. That's such an important part of the character that get missed. The detective aspects of Batman, the physical aspects, obviously that's a massive element of Batman, his navigation skills.
A lot of villains from the Batman universe are present. So you can see Joker, you can see
Poison Ivy, Bane, Killer Croc.
Of course, we've got a brilliant design of Harley Quinn.
One of the things that really scared me the most was when I saw the models for the Blackgate prisoners who were put into Arkham Asylum. These guys were so big and so massive and so brutal, I didn't even want to look at them. Also, we use a character called Victor Zsasz in the game, who's the closest probably the real world has to a super criminal. There's an element of fantasy to everybody else. Yes, Croc is big and powerful and reptilian, but you're not really going to see anybody like that in real life. Victor Zsasz, you might see in real life, and you don't want to.
The nature of the villains in the Batman universe are that they don't necessarily want to work with Joker. You know, they've all got their own agendas. You know, most of them are lunatics or people who really just want to kill Batman. So, although Joker is in control, it doesn't always go his way.
That gives the game a whole unique flavour, and Joker's such a fantastic character to base the whole game around and to really be driving the whole experience. Because he's so charismatic and funny, you kind of hate him, but you kind of love him, because when he's on screen, he's just so funny and interesting, but you really want to get him at the end of the day for making your life such a misery.
Batman's surrounded constantly by Gordon and Oracle. Oracle provides his technical backup, plans, schematics if necessary for Arkham Island. She's kind of just off-site, being able to give him any information that he requires to solve the crimes.
We've got two distinct kind of gameplay modes, and we want to achieve, with one of them, we really want to achieve a feeling that you're creating fear in the enemies, that you're really having an emotional impact on them, that they're reacting to the fact that they can't see you and you're Batman and you really are picking them off and kind of playing with them. The other kind of aspect that we work on for the AI is the combat side of things. Lots of people coming at you and you feeling like you're just batting them around, you know, you're dancing around, you're jumping over them, you're really dealing with this huge multitude of people that are coming at you, and that it doesn't feel like they're holding back on you.
In Batman Arkham Asylum, we tried to create quite a complex, deep story where more's happening behind the scenes than you imagine.
The story is probably one of Batman's biggest challenges. While delivering the Joker back to Arkham, Batman finds himself in the middle of essentially a prison riot, which has been orchestrated by the Joker to specifically happen when Batman is returning him to the asylum. The whole thing is a massive setup, and it's Batman alone against an army of criminals, psychotics, and supervillains.
Begging to be slaughtered!
Well, there's so many awesome areas in the game. One of these areas are the catacombs. It's a labyrinth of sort of dark tunnels, cave areas where the Croc lives. We've got across, it looks so good that you can almost taste the moisture. You can see it on your screen. It's that gritty, that dirty.
You can go in the sewers, you can go in the cells. You got a penitentiary building as well. You go in the caves, and of course you can just like run everywhere you want, because it's quite an open world.
The whole game is persistent. There are no loading screens in the game at all. As you move around the game, you're in a completely persistent world, and that's really important to us because it's important this feels like a real place. Hidden throughout the island as well are hundreds of secrets that you can move around and explore and get rewarded with. So the more you explore, the more the game's going to give back to you.
There are a lot of objects that Batman has in the game, the bat claw and the grappling hook.
Batman, again, a huge arsenal of gadgets to choose from. We really wanted gadgets that represented not only Batman's navigational skills, but also gadgets that allowed Batman to interact in new ways with the enemies in combat and also in Predator as he's moving around. A couple of examples of those gadgets would be the line launcher. So you have a gadget which you can fire, which fires like a horizontal zip line that Batman can fly along across anywhere in the game. He can use this. And it's great for traversing gaps that you couldn't normally get across, but it's also great if you've got like 3 enemies in a row and you can fire it above their head and zip line down it and knock all those enemies out in one move. Some of the other gadgets that Batman's got include obviously his Batarang. It's really important that he has a limitless supply of Batarangs. He's moving around, he's Batman, so obviously he can pull out the Batarang and use that at any time. One of the other gadgets is the explosive gel, and you can get the explosive gel to blast through structurally weak walls.
But even better than that, he can lay traps, so he'll put this explosive gel on the walls, the floors, the ceilings, wait until the guys come along, and then he'll set it off, and all the shrapnel from the blowing up wall takes them out, and it's really satisfying to do stuff like that. It's great fun.